So they exposed, like having a foot on the brother's neck, right? They exposed their racism. So they didn't expose their racism to everybody. They ain't wanted to help nobody. They invaded Yemen years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 2015. They ain't said nothing, ain't did nothing, and they starving them to death. And they got them cut off from everything. And they're dying like flies. And they have cholera and every other disease, right? It's not important. Why? They're Muslim. It's the richest Arab country in the world fighting the poorest Arab country in the world. Saudi Arabia killing the Yemenis. Okay. So strategic blunder. It was a blunder. It was a trap for the United States, right, to influence Russia to invade Ukraine. Was a strategic blunder. It formed what we call a strategic realignment. The three biggest monsters in the world, instead of fighting each other, like China and India, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. A realignment. So you see, Russia is aligned with China. In India, that traditionally fights against China. Of course, they lose. Are working together. Who is that? Russia has 8 time zones. It's the biggest country in the world, twice as big as the United States. 6 million square miles, 8 time zones. The U.S. have 4, right? They have 3 or 4. That's all they have in the U.S. Like if it's 2 o'clock right now, here it's 11 o'clock in California. That's it. But in Russia, that sun is always shining on Russia. Somewhere, if it's gone down on one side of Russia, it's risen on the other. Can you imagine that? 8 time zones. The Chinese have 4 billion people. The Indians have another 1.3 billion people. Those are the biggest land mass. Russia's the biggest land mass country in the world, right? Then they have other big ones like Canada, the U.S., Brazil is big, 3 million, something like the U.S. But you got most of the people in the world in an alliance, a strategic alliance, and the currency they're using, they're starting to use what's called a basket of currencies, is what they call it. A basket of currencies. In other words, we can manipulate this anytime, and we won't use the dollar. When the world goes off the dollar, you and I and everybody else in the United States is going flat broke. I would explain it to you, but I'm telling you, you can't imagine how much money is out there that they print and reprint every day, all the time. Anyway, we're going to speed up. Strategic realignment. Russia, China, India, Iran, Yemen, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and we have here AFRICOM. AFRICOM means that the United States, they got a thing called AFRICOM. What does the AFRICOM do? Go over and oppress Africans. Right today. And the Saudis spend money on groups like Boko Haram to have them kidnap and kill other Muslims under the name of Islam, but there ain't no Boko Haram, they're Boko Munafiks, whatever they is. Hypocrites, right? They work for a boss man. They work for boss man. Don't pay no attention to all of that. We on the Sunnah stuff. They ain't on nothing. Because the Sunnah prohibits you from fighting other Muslims, right? Especially. Anyway, strategic economy. I'm going to speed up. That means a basket of currency. They have evolved diplomacy now. This is all happening. This is the gift. This is what we was talking about from the very beginning. That this is a gift from the United States for its harassment of Russia and Russia attacking. This is the gift that they're all getting. They think, oh, Russia's the bad guy. Nobody's voting against it in the UN. In other words, and the Chinese know, like they have Ukraine for the Russians, they have Taiwan for the Chinese. Y'all ever hear of Taiwan? Formosa, they used to call it. The Formosa Strait. Back in the day, they want China to fight to keep or get Formosa that belongs to China. So far, the Chinese is pretty smart. They're not getting into a fight with America because America is going downhill. Remember, I want to tell you all about the normal process of life. Birth, growth, decline, and death. That's true for me and you, and that's true for empires. Empires coming to being, like the United States Empire. When it's growing and developing, manifest destiny, they kill Indians, they slave the Negroes, they do anything they want, and they headed uphill. When they have a war, the wars is all over there. World War I is in Europe. World War II is all over in Europe and in the islands. It ain't nothing happening here, right? So America's protected. Why? Because they get their time. The birth of the great American empire. Growth spread all over the world, right? It's got more military bases, 169, somebody said, I don't know, somewhere like right today. Growth or born. Growth, decline. I'm sorry, the American empire is in a decline. It's getting old, just like me, getting gray hair, hard to get up and hard to get around. That's the way America do. When you get feeble-minded and slow, like you ever see the president now, that boy is more forgetful than I am. Well, he's a year older. He ought to be 78 or something, 79 maybe. And still the president. And that boy spend most of his time sleeping, because when you get our age, you get a little tired, you have to take a nap. Old Ronald Reagan was the greatest napping president they had, but he wasn't old as these boys now. Can you imagine? And he don't remember nothing. But that's who we needed as president, because he's stupid. He's a stupid man. He done made all the blunders. Everything that's wrong. He chose, last year he was picking on China. But now they dealing with the Russians. But China never forget, you was out to get us. Yeah, so we remember. That's why strategic alliance, Russia, China, India. That's everybody in the world. That's over half the people in the world. And don't forget about Africa. You ain't heard nobody in Africa talking about, we don't like what's going on in Europe. They don't like it, all right, because you're not letting our citizens come back home. You're showing that if you got blonde hair and blue eyes and everybody's seeing it on TV, that's what, those are benefits that you never counted on. I'm going to speed up here. In economy, we'll speed up, but remember, a basket currencies. That means they can use Chinese currency, they can use Iranian currency, they can use Indian currency, and they can use Russian currency amongst each other. Because anytime they use the dollar, they got to go through them. You think all the Europeans is on this stuff that's going on now? I'm sorry. They're not. And if they are on board, that means that the U.S. got all the oil and everything it needs for itself, and everybody else needs to get oil and wheat from Russia. Yeah, from Russia, Ukraine. 42% of all the bread, stuff make bread, right, come from them. Fertilizer that you need to get them big old bumper crops, Russia, right? All those reasons, now they're going to cut it all off. And the people might act like they're all right, but see, the U.S. is self-sufficient in oil, but none of them people are. They need oil from Russia. They need all the resources from Russia and all these other places. Okay, so they're not going to hang on long. I'm just telling you, they're already getting ready to break up. But whatever it is, they're in a lot of trouble. Now, so we got to build a movement, and this time we're in the front seat of the bus. The historical bus, we're in the front seat on this go-round. I don't mean to be talking like this, but we've been cruising, and we kind of got a method of waiting for ayats and signs. One time we waiting around, hanging out, and we see all great person get martyred. That brings it all together, and the people that come here know what that relates to. And we said that was a signal, but you couldn't go back to California because at the time of all this stuff going on. We're in the front seat of the historical bus. We're going to be at the table to decide. We're not going to be like our Negro brothers over there bawling and crying. They just make you just want to hurt. They don't like us. They used us and abused us, and now we're not popular anymore. They can do that all they want. They can stay over there. They can stay over there because they didn't realize what their position was and they didn't use it. We're not with them. We're not just talking trash, but we have been here studying. And everything that we have said today is all on record. If we said this and we did that, you can go check the record. Okay, so a multipolar world is coming about. There's regional powers developing unity. And I already talked about some of those. But now, if we want to be at the table, we have to go and take a spot at the table. Nobody's going to invite you to the table. You have to take your spot. So, here's what we said 10 years ago. Together, we must develop a plan of action and work with missionary zeal to bring about and play a role in the earth liberation movement, which means to free the earth from the parasitical behavior of man, establish a non-predatory system of interconnected global harmony, nurture and further a culture of earth-first custodianship, that's caliphate, and understand and respect the rights of the earth, which should be treated as a living organism, which it is, and envision and actualize a global redesign for the 21st century. This is way back in 2011. This is way back for you, but it's not way back for me. What we're saying is we've been thinking about all this time. But we have a period where we just cruise. See, when you get older, you know how to cruise and you know how to do all that. You know how to do everything today. So starting today, not start today, but starting yesterday, day before yesterday, we're in a new period. And now we're going to actualize the things that we've been, build movement, front seat, be in the historical bus. We have to be at the table to decide global affairs. And let the world know we're here. We're not, look, you may think we're just talking. But the biggest movements, I don't care what you call them, in the U.S. and around the world, and around the world. Some of you have seen the stuff. We didn't care where they was coming from. We told all those people, no, we smell a rat over there. We ain't going for that. We told everybody here, we'll be by ourselves. We don't care about who with us. Why? Because we have a feeling that we're right and we're sticking with it. And a feeling and a taste for history. That's serious business. Okay. So we have to go for it. That's what we're doing right now. That's why this khutbah is what it is. It's not a guessing game. We're laying out. See, we just sit and watch, and then we kind of explain things, and then it hits you. This is the time to move. And this is the time to move. This is time to do what we do now. This is time to raise more funds. This is the time to become more professional in fundraising. This is the time to, all this property we've been paying taxes on, this is the time to use it as strategic, cultural, dynamic centers, right? To do what Allah has shown us needs to be done for the movement. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to make an attempt to do. And then, in cooperating with history, this is the Asian century. It's not the American century. 21st century, what does that mean, the Asian century? China is in Asia, right? Russia, believe it or not, they white as you can be, except a lot of Muslims in Russia, still in Asia. Russia's in Asia. It ain't over here. It ain't in Europe. Right? You read about a lot of the old empires. Study why those buildings spiral up like that. They're imitating the turbans that Muslims used to wear. Y'all that know that, they say, yeah, them buildings, they know what's going on. All of the people, all of that area, when you talk about China, when you talk about Iran, when you talk about Khutbah Khan, and you go to Pakistan, Afghanistan, every other name is Khan this, Khan that. Everybody came and they left something. But even the great conquering by the Khan, Khutbah Khan, Genghis Khan, they came in and they whooped the mess out of the Muslims. But you know what they took back up there to Asia? Islam. They conquered the Muslims, but Islam conquered them. So get ready to hear this White House. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Why not? What the heck? Okay. Asian century. Asia has the resources, has a population. So it's Asia and it's Africa. Africa has been bled to death, but it's still a live resource, full of resources. There's so many resources you can't steal them all at one time. Take you 100 years to get them. Okay. But they got to get on their job. They can't do it with dictators and criminals, you know what I mean, and sergeants and crackpots, you know, stealing everything from the people and running them over here. 2 tracks in history. Okay, so far, Negroes have been flunkies to Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, and other people. We're not going to do that. And in closing, we just want to say, dear believers, As-Sabiqun, that's what our name means, and As-Sabiqun means to go out front, right? And in the Quran, it means those who lead the way, and another side Qutb says those who show the way. That's who we are. So in closing, I want to, this thing is going out here. We don't want, Eid is coming up, so we want y'all to form Eid clubs instead of giving all that money out at these places. The Imam sitting up there crying and scared to death. We want you to develop Eid clubs and collect your money amongst yourself and bring it over here. Remember, charity, not for the ones that you can give charity to individuals, anything. If you go out in front of places, they said, this is our money. It ain't your money. What are you talking about? This is my stuff. It ain't your money. The best gift you can give is give it to somebody else. Isn't that right? You know, the fiqh of giving. They done made it look like you got to go give this money at our masjid. That's what all it is. That's people is crazy. And it's clear, right? The best gift is to go give it to somebody that need it. And who's more in need than me and you? I'm telling you. All right. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. And we seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is besides thee. Ameen. Iqamati salat.